What's up, everyone? I accidentally didn't press play. This is Don on one and Mekkah.
Hi.
And we are bringing to you Chapter 24, my Fire Emblem 5, Paragon Mode, 0% Girls playthrough.
Getting ahead of yourself there, huh? We've got Chapter 24, and that's the chapter where we finally take down one of the big baddies, Raedric. He's sitting on a throne with a sword that should make him invincible, but we just got the Blaggi Sword, which negates the special properties of the sword, namely the fact that you do half damage, so he's actually a piece of cake. But the reason why this chapter is so long is not because the boss is such a pain in the ass, but because we have to babysit a couple of young boys. Isn't that right?
So this is the third time in the playthrough that we're playing NPC Rescue Squad. The first time was Chapter 3, and the second time was Chapter 18. And like both of those times, it mainly has to do with the side objective of this map, because the main objective is quite simple. Leaf just has to walk up and seize the throne. Along the way, we have to dispatch some of the mercenaries and snipers that stand in the way, and we also have to kill the boss. He's Raedric. He is the guy back in Chapter 5 who originally kidnapped Narita and Nana and set the events of this game into motion in the first place. So Leaf gets to take some sweet revenge on him. The layout of this chapter is kind of interesting. We have two starting groups in the left and right hand sides. The one on the left hand side is tasked with protecting the kids and eventually escorting them to the top of the map near where that room is. And the group on the right hand side, their job ostensibly is to deal with that group of enemy dark mages that's locked in a room some distance away. These dark mages all have some nefarious stabs or long-range tomes, and so it's really imperative for us to deal with them as soon as possible, because otherwise we would have to face the consequences.
Yeah, as August explains when this chapter begins, the right group is tasked with taking care of these dark mages because they are carrying various different status staves and other annoying things. I think one of them is magic up and another one has a restore staff. And that's why that group has to take care of those dark mages, because otherwise they would get in the way. We can do this pretty easily because of the huge amount of sleep staff uses that we got last chapter. We have 6 uses of the sleep staff, and then we also have the Blizzard Tome that we stole a couple of chapters ago that Astra can use. And Blizzard is a long-range tome that puts people to sleep, so combined with that we can actually put 3 or even more people to sleep every turn. And that makes every enemy pretty much a non-threat. Now the reason we have to babysit in this chapter is because to unlock the Guidance chapter that comes after this, we need the Kia staff. And the Kia staff is hidden in the room all the way at the top of the map. And in order to get the Kia staff, you have to open the door, but you don't do that by using a thief or a door key. You have to put one of the boys, one of the NPC boys in front of it, and they will do some weird kind of, I don't even want to call it a cutscene, but they do some kind of thingy and they open the door and then they get scared and they run away. And that's the only way you can unlock the door. You don't even know which NPC boy would open the room.
And keep in mind that Mekkah is very specific about the word boy, because of the starting 8 NPCs on this map, only the 4 boys have a chance of unlocking the door at the top of the map. The girls cannot do this, so there's no point in transporting them up there. I don't know why this is, but we also have no idea which boy it is that unlocks the door, so the only way to prevent ourselves from guessing wrong and screwing ourselves over is to just transport all the boys up there and leave them within range of the door on turn 5 and see which one unlocks it.
Yeah, it's kind of sexist that only boys are apparently curious enough to do this. There's a group of dark mages that threaten to capture the kids, and I guess they would run away with them if they got the chance. So we get Lynn Owen in there, and she tries to compete with Zed for having the longest and most annoying animation possible, combined with a really annoying sound of Nosferatu. She cannot die because she has Wrath, so she'll recover every bit of HP she takes while she just one-hit kills all these dark mages, but it takes forever. I think this video is taking up for like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes just with her using Nosferatu. We also have warped Pahn into a room full of dangerous magic enemies for the second time this playthrough, so we can steal some more staves that can be useful to us, and also to disable these mages some more.
So the standard tome that we've seen the Dark Mages use thus far in this playthrough is the Jormungandr tome, which it looks like a giant pile of goo coming from underneath the target. And then now you're seeing a second kind of tome that they're using starting in this chapter. It's like the giant semicircular ghosty dark sphere thing. That is the Tome Hell. It's like the Tome Eclipse from FE6, where it reduces the target's HP to 1 if it hits. The major differences between that and FE6 Eclipse are that, first of all, this is a 1 to 2 range tome, so in some ways it's more annoying, in some ways it's less annoying. And second, this tome actually has 60 accuracy, unlike FE6 Eclipse's 10 accuracy, so it'll actually hit you. And the thing is, because Jormungandr poisons the target and Hell reduces the HP to 1, if you get hit with both Jormungandr and Hell in the same enemy phase, then unless you somehow recover your HP midway through, using either like the Earth Sword or Nosferatu or the Sol skill, then you're going to die in the next player phase.
Yeah, it's a pretty mean combo, but thankfully the player has been given the means to deal with them, so it's not as big of a deal as it would seem. Like that goes for a lot of endgames. There's like a lot of really tricky combos and things that make casual players cower in fear, but when you look at the things that we have at our disposal to combat them, like all the silence and sleep staffs, Thief Staff is useful. The Warp Staff, of course, is still a very big factor. And it's not that big of a deal. The bishops seem to be going Super Saiyan or something, but they're just using Holy Waters. I'm not sure why, because they don't really do anything other than using Physic. Like, it would be more of a threat if they were using, like, status stats, but whatever. There's a group of enemies in the middle that look pretty threatening. It's like a bunch of heroes and 2 snipers. Among them is an enemy hero called Galzus. And Galzus can be recruited by Merida, which is why she's in the middle group. You would expect us to warp Leaf and Merida over there to get things over with quickly, but because rescuing the kids and getting them to the top takes so long, we can just walk them there. The reason we warp Merida over is because Galzus has that silly AI that you might remember from FE6 with Klein and Tate, where they would refuse to move sometimes. Galzus has the same problem, and sometimes he will not move, and if he doesn't move, then our whole strategy kind of gets thrown off. So we warp Merida in there ahead of time, and so she can recruit Galzus, and then she's gonna get her weapons taken away, so she gets captured instead of killed, and that way Galzus can reliably take care of these enemies.
Right, because Galzus is very conveniently occupying a choke point between 2 pillars, so that kind of blocks the rest of the enemies from even getting close to Leaf, and so they're gonna see that he's like the only target available, try to kill him, but because his combat is so good, I think he is probably competitive with Sed for best combat in this game. He's just going to destroy them all, and really not even break a sweat doing it. It's also helped that because the reason why Merida can recruit Galzus is because, spoiler alert, Galzus is her father, and they haven't seen each other for a long time. And so Merida is giving Galzus a plus 20 support, which is, as I stated before, is very rare in this game. Most supports are only plus 10. And so that gives Galzus like a ton of accuracy, a ton of avoid, and enough critical that he is guaranteed to critical them, even though he already quadruples the enemies with like his Master Axe. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Galzus is absolutely insane. He comes with 2 master weapons and a fire sword, so he comes very well equipped to deal with everything. You can imagine how much of a boon that is in a 0% growth run. We're also taking care of the Dark Mages with some other means. On the left, you saw Xavier throw his Master Axe at some of these enemies, or at least at one enemy. And that looked kind of shaky because he missed twice, and then he almost got hit. But it was more reliable than it looked because Xavier doubled that Dark Mage since they are so slow. And I think that one was even holding a kid. And then in addition, he also had charge to fall back on, so it wasn't that bad.
So over on the right-hand side, there's a couple things that we've done. Amalda and Asvel are occupying 2 slots from which some soldiers reinforce, and then we also disabled the 2 heroes that that flank the door over there on the right-hand side, because one of them is a Sleep Sword and the other one's a Berserk Sword, so we don't really want to mess with them, and their stats are pretty high, like the rest of the heroes here. The hero that's on the inside, he could theoretically walk up to Pahn and attack him, while Pahn is defenseless, so actually he'll probably capture Pahn in that case. But to prevent him from doing that, we also put him to sleep, because we have so many sleep staff uses to play with.
Yeah, I honestly think the most dangerous thing in this chapter when I play this game is that if you put your cursor over some of the heroes, the game freezes because there's something wrong with the text that indicates a hero. I'm not sure on the details, but basically, unless you turn off one of the extra menu options when you're mousing over a hero, your game just freezes and you have to either save state or restart your game. That's the most threatening thing in this chapter. Everything else seems pretty easy as long as you have the right tools available to you.
That's only with the really crappy English patch too, because in the regular version of the game that doesn't happen. It's only because they fuck something up with the translation, and then, I mean, that patch is of the worst quality imaginable, but whatever. So, Galzus has no trouble wiping the floor with these guys. These snipers both have Master Bows, and it would have been pretty nice to be able to capture one of them to take their Master Bow so that we could use it in the final chapter. It's a little bit more accurate than the Master Axe, and Xavier would have liked to use it, but this is really like the easiest and most reliable way to take care of this chapter, and I prefer doing things the easy way over doing something unnecessarily complex with the chance to go wrong. So that's why we did it.
Okay, so that pretty much covers this chapter, I think, for the most part. All that's left is really taking care of Raedric and killing a bunch of Dark Mages with, what's her name? Sarah? Right? Lennon, yeah. Lennon, the Time Waster. So nothing else nothing else really matters. We brought Dermott, by the way, in the middle group because, you know, you would think that Leaf would use the Blaggi Sword since he's the hero of the story and all, but as good as Leaf is in the Gross playthrough, he is still pretty much a base stat since even his promotion gains weren't that good. But thankfully the game put in some field saves and some other units can use the Blaggi Sword. I believe it's Dermott, and then there's also Nana and Fergus who can use it.
Yes, Fergus the hero, right? But he's not a hero because he sucks.
He's a free knight, he's not a hero.
Of those four guys, only Dermott is the one with high enough stats, and he needed the speed ring in order to be able to double Raedric. It's going to turn out that later in this chapter, actually, Dermott's not going to be the one that gets a kill on Raedric, but he's perfectly capable of 2A KOing him and doubling him. It's just that, you know, Raedric's kind of a... Some people like to mock him for being kind of a shitty boss, but in comparison to a lot of other bosses, he is kind of a tough cookie to deal with. His special sword, it's called the Laughter Sword. It's kind of, it's supposed to mimic the effect of the Laughter Tome, the Book of Laughter from FE4, which halves the enemy's attack stat prior to them even attacking you. So most things will just not do any damage to him. He is considered to be armored, however, so an Armorslayer critical will do a decent chunk of damage to him, which is what we're going to be doing with Galzus to help out with the boss kill. We can afford to be really lazy with the boss kill, because the limiting factor in this chapter is actually the side objective. The boys will not attempt to unlock the door until turn 5 NPC phase, which means that the earliest you can complete this chapter is turn 6, and that just gives Leaf time to dilly-dally around and set to use a heal staff and show off how amazing he is.
So we have yet another long enemy phase where Lennon is doing her Nosferatu shenanigans. It's really the only reliable way to clear them, I think, because, well, just about everyone else just dies to the combination of Hell and Jormungand, even if they get poisoned. Speaking of getting poisoned, I think throughout this chapter at least 4 or 5 people get poisoned, and that just wastes even more time. I think in general we can sum up FE5 as a big waste of time.
Probably. You know what else is a big waste of time? The secret shop.
That is a pretty big waste of time. I mean, the secret shop was one of the biggest things, excuse me, one of the biggest things in FE6, where you save up all game to buy a bunch of boots. And in this playthrough, it was more like that secret shop was in chapter 14 for getting all the S-strings and a couple wind tomes at some point. And that's pretty much all the shopping we did in the entire playthrough. Like, the gold never mattered after that. We saw it done on even like discard or randomly even get restore staff uses mugged from him and not caring because he's just never visiting another shop again in the entire game.
You also know what else is a waste of time? That Dark Mage that has the magic up staff. He's still boosting his allies even though none of them can do anything. He's just like, guys, help.
I'm helping. I am helping.
Why won't you do something? But, I mean, no need to fear because Pahn is now completely surrounded and he can't go anywhere either.
We got him, guys, we got him. We can't hurt him, we got him.
So the thing is, I actually noticed something pretty interesting about the AI in this chapter. If you warp in Pahn and he has a weapon equipped, they'll all try to like kind of run away from him, and their movements are a little random in that respect. But if you warp them in without a weapon, then they always, like, if you repeat the same actions, they'll always end up like this.
They're trying to tell you something. I think Leaf's approach to the throne really scared these bishops because they suddenly start walking to the side. I have no idea why. I think also at some point, this is something I just remember, but I think there's at some point that Dark Mage reinforces in the area where the secret shop is.
Is there? I don't remember that, but who knows?
It was really weird. I think it's meant to be an indicator of where the secret shop is. Anyway,
Perhaps. Weird
ass boss kill. That doesn't really matter because this is the boss kill where you take you can take 2 entire turns to do this, right? It's ridiculous.
Right.
Something
else is interesting about Raedric is the Lopter sword. You'd expect that the one of the final bosses of the game would have a sword that has 2 range, but it only has 1 range.
Yeah.
He can't do anything to you if you attack him from range. Now the other thing is that the sword gives him plus 20 magic, which is pretty ridiculous. It basically makes it so that even Sed is hardly doing anything to him with a double critical. But one trick that you can do is technically you can't steal the sword because it has 20 weight, but you can try to thief staff it away by trying to steal from Raedric, but actually giving him an item instead of stealing an item from him. You'd give him a bow or some other ranged weapon, then force him to attack you with the ranged weapon, and then you can thief staff the Lopter sword away from him.
Yeah,
it's a neat trick, but no one can use it.
Yeah, no one can use it except Raedric and one other person. But yeah, it's kind of weird that you can't use it. You can fire it from range because it's perfect for a magic sword, right? I mean, I know the magic's mostly given just so you can staff it away easily, but it still seems very weird that a sword imbued with magic from Lopter cannot attack at range. It's just baffling to me.
Yeah, you'd expect it to be like a super heavy dark magic sword that attacks from range, or it could be it could reduce your HP to 1 at 2 range or something weird like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So much potential that's lost. So the boys unlock the door, and the last thing that we do is to rescue Lara up there so that she can unlock the chest. The alternative would have been to use Tina to unlock the chest, but she has a 20% chance of missing, and that would have been pretty bad because we've already sat through 17 minutes of this. So, chapter 24 in 6 turns. See you next time.